fired up. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. We are not going to, might have to go 6 or 8 parts. Sure is. We're good. Oh, and everybody, well, we'll do this in a minute. Everybody got your phones on you? Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design, Natural Health. We are here with a riotous, out of control post-CD crowd. It is, yep, woo-wee, oh brother. Here we are. We're going to get right down to it right now, folks, because we have a lot of information to cover. This is a very important topic. We're talking about 5G and PEMF therapy. We're going to talk a lot about things that I know a lot of people have kind of heard of. A lot of people very confused about some things, and a lot of people have absolutely no idea. They've never heard of this stuff. So it's my job to bring all this stuff together and present it to you. So this thing, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, it's happening to you right now. We're all getting hit with radiation. We're all getting hit with 20 or 30 devices just in this office alone, and then upstairs and other businesses around here. So it's happening to us right now. It's happening to you right now, and you don't even feel it. We don't even feel it. So this is a very important topic, and we are going to blast through some things. Everybody, grab your dumb phone or your smartphone, whichever one you have, and hold it up. That is, look at it and say, that thing, look at that, and understand that if it's not already 5G, it will be soon. So every time you put that thing to your skull, think about everything that we are talking about, because this is a big thing. You're not going to like some of this stuff, and just realize that when you place it on your face or in your pocket or in your bra, realize what we're talking about tonight. Look at that thing. Now, while you have your phones out, I tricked you. While you have your phones out, like us, go to Facebook, go to YouTube, go to our webpage, whatever, but go to Facebook first. Check in, get your stamps on your little card, go to Facebook, share this feed, like it, check in, and you get stamps on your little reward card for which, who is spinning tonight? Janice. No. Dee Dee. Dee Dee is spinning the wheel tonight, and she might even win a chicken dinner. It's possible. She might actually be winner chicken dinner. So a couple things, too, that I want to throw at you so that you are not, so that you know when we mention it. There are solutions to all of this stuff, okay? We're going to present the bad side, and then we're going to present the good side. This right here, when I mention this, you need to have something that neutralizes or blocks your radiation exposure, okay? You're not going to get away from this stuff. Well, I'll just go live in the country. Good idea. Ain't going to work. I'll just go buy an island and live on that. Good idea. It ain't going to work. You can't get away from the satellites. You need to have something that neutralizes the effects of some of this stuff, and you need to have something on your device, whether it's a dumb phone, smartphone, tablet, computer, that will turn some of the radiation to harmless light. These are super affordable, super cheap, something to mitigate, something to attenuate some of the stuff that you are not going to get away from. We're going to talk about this at the end. So I just want to introduce those things to you, so when I mention those, you're not in the dark. Speaking of phones, those little cellular devices that you hold in front of you, the average American spends, last time I checked, about 162 minutes on a cell phone, with sitting here like this or in their lap. So that's 2 hours and 42 minutes, if I did my math right. That's a lot of time. Kids have more than that. So just keep that in mind while we're going through this. 5G, one thing I want to point out too, coincidence? I don't know. We'll just go over here. Sorry, I'm moving around. 5G, what is that? We'll discuss that, but you need to understand, coincidence? I don't think so. 5, another way of saying 5 is penta, and G is the abbreviation for gram. Put those two together. That's all I'll say there. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Moving on. One article that we'll bring up here in a second, this Dangers of 5G article. This is everything we're going to say basically in a nutshell. So I just want to spit this to you at first so this doesn't shock anybody. Okay, and I know this is going to go live to a lot of people, and we're monitoring, yes, Andrea, so for Facebook, for all questions and stuff. And hit me with commercial breaks. Let me know. Cut me off. Dangers of 5G networks. I'm going to rail through this, you guys. I'm going to go speed of light. 5G cell phone network promises to be the most powerful and fastest of all time. We'll show you what these towers look like in just a minute. With extra speed comes risks. So because of the shorter length of 5G's high-frequency waves and their inability to go through walls and trees, this new network will require building about 800,000 new wireless antenna structures. This article was July of last year. We're skipping down to the red stuff here. The new antennas will be able to emit 3, 4, and 5G microwave radiation at the same time. The WHO, you've heard of those guys in the news quite a bit recently. Are they good guys or bad guys? Right, but they even have to classify this kind of radiation as a possible carcinogen. You need to understand this. As a possible carcinogen. This is what the WHO says. I'm going to show you what the scientific literature says. It's not a possible carcinogen. And there's evidence that it can lead to some types of brain tumors, both in animal studies by the US government and in humans that have used phones regularly for a decade or longer. How long have we been using cell phones? Since the 90s, about, most of us. Sprint stopped operating a cell tower in California schoolyard after 4 students and 3 teachers were, nope, stay at the bottom there just for a second. After 4 students and 3 teachers there developed rare cancers in the 10 years since the tower was erected. With 5G, these risks may only worsen. Toxicology program, it's reported clear evidence of rare cancers and genetic damage in animals. Do you want genetic damage? No, you do not. Not at all. After prolonged exposure to 2 and 3G radiation, 5 is very similar, but it operates at a higher frequency and shorter range. So is this more dangerous or less dangerous if it's a higher frequency? Okay, making it potentially, you read the test question. There it is. So self-defense, the good news is there's already a way to eliminate the damage. Hardwire your fiber optic cable can be run from a 5G tower to a home as regularly done in South Korea. Yeah, that's easy. Okay, so that's your article there. We're going to hit some slides here just so that you can understand. We're going to show you what these things look like. A lot of people don't even know what these things look like. If you want to know the slides of the actual picture, the pictures of the towers, if you want to know what this looks like, the closest one to here that I know of is right behind Hobby Lobby. You can't miss it. And it was actually put up, this is funny, it was actually put up about 2 weeks after my last class in November. We did a class the first week in November. It was called The Effects of 5G and EMF. 2 weeks after that, I had a patient come and say, hey, those pictures you showed, they put one behind Hobby Lobby like a week ago. And it was just perfect timing. It was crazy. So where'd that one go? Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, no. Okay. We might have a few. Thank you for Jonathan's helping out tonight. He's running some, he's coordinating a massive onslaught of audio and video and slides and pictures and all kinds of stuff. Oh, yeah. Did we skip the Neil Diamond? This crowd will love the Neil Diamond one. You guys will love this. We got to have a little comic relief, man. This is, so, well, we'll come back to it. But this is a picture. Does these look familiar to anybody? Okay, some of you know what these are. Some people don't. We say 5G towers, they don't know what they're looking for. This is what you're looking for. They're also many times disguised in trees. We can go to the next one. Yeah. And you'll see trees. You'll see a 5G tower with like branches sticking out of it. They try to disguise them to look like trees. Bigger cities, they look like, some of them will look like park benches, or they'll be on light posts, or they'll look like light posts. So if this was good for you, would it be hidden? If they're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to install 800,000 towers, wouldn't they tell you if it was good? Nope, they're not. They would tell you if they were spending a bunch of money. Here's one. This is interesting in Chattanooga. Right, here's the Whole Foods in Chattanooga. You could throw a rock from the Whole Foods sign and hit that tower. Unbelievable, isn't it? You can't make this up. That's broad daylight. Okay, so people need to wake up and know what this stuff is. There's another one we'll show you here in a minute, and it's interesting. Right behind Hobby Lobby, here's Whole Foods. It's interesting where they put these. Very interesting where they put these. Found one the other day that was right smack dab in the parking lot, right in front of a Pentecostal church. Oh, hello. Right in the parish, right next to, like, probably 20 feet. Right, that's my point. Yep, Hobby Lobby, Whole Foods, yep. Okay, next. You got to look where they're putting these things. Now, if you look where they're putting them, you'll find some interesting patterns. Here's a little thing. Everybody's saying be safe, sanitize, separate. You know how many viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites, and worms are in that grass? You know how many dog bombs are in that grass? I'm going to teach you about your immune system and how you would die from a paper cut. If you went outside, you would die from if you did not have an immune system, you would die at your next breath. That is how bad to the bone your immune system is, and you are being told that you can be thrown into a spiraling tailspin by a germ that you cannot see. You have been existing with these germs for quite some time. I'm gonna spell this all out for you. Let's go through another couple here, and then we'll hold up. This right here, huge. What is this saying? Man was created for fellowship, right? This one, man, you see this on the way from here to Chattanooga all day long. COVID-19. Do your part. Stay your part. Unbelievable. You guys get this? I'm going to show you why they want you to stay apart here in a little bit. That makes me sick. But let's just hit this video, this AT&T video, or it might be, they're short ones. But let's just hit these 2 videos, and then we will go to a commercial break with some more comic relief from Andrea. She's going to juggle and spit fire for you. It'll be great. But as soon as we get these videos going, they're
because they're here.
Catchy little slogan.
Working day in, day out. AT&T is here, providing support with advanced
immune system from being a baby. Oh yeah, let's get this audio going here. And just restart when you get a chance. How do you build your immune system? Exposure. You're exposed to feces. You're exposed to, vaginal fluid, to placenta. You're exposed to your mom, to breast milk. You get all of the stuff that you need from your environment, from dirt, science is replete with evidence that people with better immune systems come from, people who are born in
because they're here, working day in, day out. AT&T is here, providing support with advanced services for first responders and connecting temporary hospitals, mobile testing sites, and emergency management centers. Because until their job is done, it is essential that we all have their backs. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do.
AT&T, serving those who serve.
Because they're here, working day in,
day out. So this is all about the medical people.
We noted that this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, is the song that they're playing in the background.
Oh, is that right? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, is the song in the background. How appropriate.
Incidental, but nonetheless.
Instrumental, this little light of mine. Wow, I did not know that. Thank you for pointing that out, Andrea. Yeah. And then this one here.
You're first. First to respond.
So this one here.
First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first. That connects you to technology and each other. That's built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only officially authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting
built with AT&T
is our job.
So we're being told
to learn more about AT&T and our response to the coronavirus, subscribe to this channel, visit the AT&T newsroom, or watch more videos on the playlist seen here.
So stay apart, but connect to.
The vision of FirstNet is to connect large metropolitan cities to the smallest rural areas so that our first responders, our public safety community, can talk to each other, can communicate, voice, video, data.
And AT&T has been chosen to build the first ever in the United States first responder broadband network.
This is public safety's network.
Get 6 feet back. You
designed for, built for, and dedicated to public safety.
It's really the first ever nationwide public safety broadband network dedicated to America's first responders.
Today, our first responder community are not able to communicate effectively after disaster strikes, whether they're man-made disasters such as terrorist attacks or whether they're natural disasters such as hurricanes. All of the communication lines pretty much get jammed.
So when a crisis happens, we want our first responders to be able to have dedicated access to their own network.
What FirstNet does, because it deploys this nationwide fabric, this nationwide footprint, it allows first responders to take their equipment wherever it's needed and to be able to use it immediately.
This is really significant for them and really significant to the country as a whole.
We look at this as an opportunity, but we also need to consider this as an obligation to our fellow citizens, our country, and our first responders that place themselves at risk every day.
This new network that is going to be built for the first responders, this LTE broadband network, is going to be changing the landscape of our public safety community for decades to come.
By providing a reliable and advanced LTE network, we're connecting those who are always there when we need them the most.
Perfect. Easy peasy. Totally easy to do. Okay. Yay. Comic relief. Commercial break. Andrea, commercial break. So we're going to fly through some of the stuff. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction on some of the stuff, some of the propaganda that we're hearing about this, some of the advertising that we're hearing about this, and give you a brief introduction on kind of what they look like and what we're talking about when we talk about 5G. You have to know what these look like. So this right here, well, pass this around. This is what we've had going around for a long time. Is your cell phone safe? I'm just going to pass this around here. Sanjay Gupta, Anderson Cooper, two paramounts of truth, but they do actually talk about the cell phones, and there are journal articles, there's newspaper articles, and they're talking about cell phones going all the way back to the 90s. So you just need to kind of pass that around and show people. There's a lot of evidence in there about cell phones and the dangers that you haven't been told about. So we're going to be a while, okay? This might be at 6:38 right now. We're going to fly through this, take bathroom breaks if you need to, but there's a lot to cover. I promise that you will get your money's worth for this. Who made it free? No, I'm just kidding. The key here, too, is there are some words like V to the A to the double C to the I-N-E that I'm just going to say shots. Okay? You get what I'm saying? V to the A to the double C, because I don't want the AI to like dial in on the, shots. I'm going to say that. And when we're talking about the current thing going on out here, I'm just going to say CV. Does that make sense? So we don't turn on the AI algorithms and get canned and censored and all that. If they do, we just have to move to another platform. It just requires a little more work, but it's going to happen one of these days. I just want to kind of prolong it as much as possible. So the next 60 minutes, we're going to talk about bravery and what you have to do to get past this whole scamdemic that's going on. We're going to talk about 3 options that you have when faced with a choice like this. We're going to talk about a quick little part 1 review of the class that we did in November, just so that we can kind of get you caught up. It's going to be like in 30 seconds. We're going to do an info blast for part 2. We're going to throw a lot of facts and figures at you, stats, just so that you can understand what the science is saying about all this that you're never going to see on TV. 5th thing we're going to do is common points regarding the documented effects of 5G. 6th thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Spanish flu of 100 years ago. There was a Spanish flu in 1918, 1920, and it had a very significant impact on chiropractic and natural health that you probably have never heard and probably might not hear anywhere else. Then we're going to review everything. Then we're going to do some personal solutions and as well as solutions that we have here. I do not want to turn this into a big advertising session, but your personal solutions involve everything from how you can reduce exposure to some things you can wear, to some things you can have in your house. We may not even get to some of this because you guys are going to be spaced out by the time we get to 7:30. So I'm going to try to end it around there. It might be some things that you can do, like turning off some things at night, personal solutions. Also, what we do here, Divine Design Solutions, everything from nutritional detoxification, getting all these metals and everything out of your body that you've been exposed to from the stuff in the air, from the stuff in your blood, the shots, the foods, everything else. You can get this stuff out faster with nutritional detox. You can also get it out faster with mechanical detox. Ionic detox foot spas. I'll explain to you the power of what those do. Infrared saunas. I'll explain to you the power of what those do. Oh, that was a good voice right there. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Pulse electromagnetic field therapy. There's something that you can, that's a big thing you can do to also mechanically get things out of your body. So we're gonna talk about all these things, essential oils, foods, things like that. So just stay tuned because there's a lot of stuff that you can do. This first slide, I'd rather be ashes than dust. This is one of my favorite quotes. I would rather be ashes than dust. I had this on my wall during all of high school and all of college. I love this quote. It's Jack London. I would rather be ashes than dust. I would rather that my spark should burn out in a brilliant blaze than it should be stifled by dry rot. I would rather be a superb meteor, every atom of me in magnificent glow, than a sleepy and permanent planet. The function of man is to live, not to exist. I shall not waste my days trying to prolong them. I shall use my time. I fell in love with that quote, and I rediscovered it in putting all these things together. And I can't think of a better quote that speaks to this time so that people are not pansies, so they're not afraid, so they're not sitting around kissing their life goodbye thinking they're going to get killed by a bug. All right, I know there are things going on, but are there viruses out there? Yes. Are there bacteria? Yes. Are there parasites? Yes. Are there fungus? Yes. Is there cancer? Is there abortion? Is there AIDS? Yes. Are people still dying? Yes. Have we ever given up our rights in such a bulk power grab? No. You need to think about this, folks, because you're being told some stuff that's just absolutely wacky as far as science goes, as far as physiology, and as far as truth. So next slide, please. This one's a good one. I think this was Winston Churchill. I'm not sure, though, and I didn't take the time to figure it out. So be bold, mighty forces will come to your aid. A lot of biblical examples come to mind right here. Actually, a ton of biblical examples. Next one, pretty please. I found this one too, dealing with this whole thing. If you're fearful, you see difficulties in every opportunity. If you are fearless, you see opportunities in every difficulty. I saw this as an opportunity to expand this thing. We're hiring 3 positions, and we've got telehealth going like crazy now. And we already had telehealth going, virtual visits, stuff like that. But we already had that going, but we upped our game. Oh, I get to answer that. That's the rule. I'm just kidding. Moving forward. Now, this came to my attention about 3 years ago, 3 years ago when I first started studying this whole 5G thing, when I saw this on the horizon. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all. We'll talk about magic arts at that pharmakia thing in May. The idolaters and all liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death, Revelation 21:8. What's the first group of people that are assigned in line? Who is it? Cowards. First group of people is who?
Cowardly.
Why would that be? I mean, everything goes in order for a reason in the Word, right? There's a good reason why that would be the number one thing, right?
I don't believe Jesus can take care of it.
Why would that be? Because doesn't cowardice kind of lead to everything else? Compromise. If you're a coward, if you're afraid of working for your own thing, you steal from somebody else. Right? It kind of all goes back to, I had to sit there and meditate on this thing and think, why the fiery lake of burning sulfur, the lake of fire in some translations, why is it they're in line first? Think about this. It's deep. It's heavy. Not comfy. But I'm telling you, we are not called to be cowards. We're called to have faith and we are not called to be in fear. Okay? So unlike a lot of keyboard warriors and skeptics and cowardly skeptics and stuff, see, I can read the science and extrapolate from the science what's going on. We can substantiate all the claims that we make and all this stuff, and we're not just going to post a journal article. I know there's a lot of keyboard warriors posting stuff on Facebook that they just put a Snopes article, and that's the gospel truth, or a Wikipedia article, and say, see, it's this, and this is how many people died. And I'm not debating. I will never get in a Facebook argument with people. But what I am saying is this. We can substantiate a lot of stuff by articles and science, but you can also substantiate a whole lot of corruption in the whole medical and research field. And we're going to show you during that pharmakia class. So what I'm saying is this. You have to look at see, there's a trick to reading research. A lot of people don't know this. You can look at the article and figure out who paid for that article to be written. When you're talking about stuff like this, like I'm not getting any benefit out of exposing this to you. If I'm working for a telecom company and I'm putting up 5G towers and I put out an AT&T commercial, I stand to make a lot of money off of that. So you have to follow the money and figure out who is benefiting from this and who is trying to hide behind it, and who's trying to expose it and say, hey, here's the truth, take it and run with it, or just ignore it, but do something with it. Don't be a coward. Don't just stand up and do something. So I'm not making any money off of this whole thing. I'm trying to say there's a lot of people making money off of this who aren't telling you the truth. So we can post articles and stuff all day long, MSM headlines all day long that say what we want it to say, but we can easily determine who paid for the study. There's a secret. I won't get into that right now. We're going to skip through that. I love truth. I love life. I love liberty. I love freedom. And I want people to do the same. And if you're not into that, then probably this vibe is not your vibe. This vibe is probably a different tribe than you need to be on. If you don't like truth and liberty and you don't like transparency and honesty, then I'm sorry, this probably ain't the place. So that's what I'm into, and I will defend it and preach it until I go down in a flaming heap of glory like Jack London was talking about, because people need to know this, and a lot of people are not talking about it. There are some constraints on people, and there's censorship going every day. What you need to think about is, what are they telling you? What are they censoring? What's the biggest topic right now being censored? In all of medicine, across health, across Facebook, what is the biggest topic? Shots. Yep. No, you're fine. You're right. Why would that be? Why would that be? Think about it. If there's something they don't want you to know, there must be something that you should probably know. That's all I'll say there. So I'm confident we know our mission here. We know who called us. We know what we're doing. We know why. We have a greater purpose for the existence of this place. So every message is going to resonate. Every message is going to, the truth is going to set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. How many of you have heard that? The truth will set you free, but first it's going to make you angry. Okay? And that's probably what will happen here. So when we discuss research articles, know that there are two things. Always know this. There's industry science and there's independent science. What I was saying before, there's industry science. Who paid for this study to be done? telecom industry that says 5G is perfectly safe, a big pharma company that says the shots are perfectly safe, a research study, J.D. Power and Associates, who are owned by Chevy, saying that our cars are number one, Chevy or Dodge, saying our cars are number one. Who's paying for that study? There's that industry research. Over here, there's independent research. There's PhD level scientists, there's certain journals that are not funded by big companies and this and that. So you've got two different levels. You've got clinical researchers over here, and you've got people who work for the industry who are researchers over here. Case in point, big Italian study, or a big Italian case years ago that proved cell phones cause cancer. How did they do that? The judge had the plaintiff, the industry people over here, and had the defendant. A woman sued a big telecom company because her son was a telemarketer. He was on the phone a lot, and he developed brain cancer. She went after, the defendant was the telecom company, so the plaintiff was her. This is brilliant. This is so brilliant. And always remember this when you're arguing with people you hate on Facebook. Always remember this. Or people you don't know. I shouldn't say people you hate. Industry science, independent science. Woman sues, here's the defendant, the industry, the telecom company. So the judge says, you gather all of the research that says that cell phones do not cause harm. You gather all of the research that says cell phones do cause harm. Stacks of piles and piles and piles of research. Does this sound familiar? All your Facebook feeds where people are arguing about, oh, here's research, here's a Snopes article, here's Wikipedia. Does this sound familiar? Now, so here comes the defendant, here comes the plaintiff, here comes the telecom, here comes the mom. Okay? They walk into the courtroom. Judge says, okay, now, I'm sure this was much longer than this, I'm paraphrasing, but the judge says, now we're going to remove all of the studies that were paid for by the defendant or by the telecom industry. What happened to this pile? This industry research went bye-bye. Okay, what happened to the independent research? Who did the judge side with? Mom. There's a very established case in Italy that basically proved that cell phones cause cancer. And to this day, see, Italian judges are very different than American judges. We won't get into that right now. But so this was a brilliant, striking example of just brilliant logic. It was almost a King Solomon decision. Almost King Solomon decision, like, whoa. He knew that there were vested interests over here. So you got to understand that when you're dealing with things like this, because people will label you, they'll say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a conspiracy. No, man, I'm a conspiracy realist. You just have to look at the facts and the figures, logic over emotion. You're looking at science, physiology. You're looking at, does it make spiritual truth? Does it make spiritual sense? It's very simple, okay? But if you don't believe that something like this can be coordinated against you, you'll never see that it can be choreographed or coordinated against you. If you don't understand and believe that there is an enemy, you will never see the enemy attacking you, okay? So there are three kinds of people, just real quick. So this is the whole bravery part of this thing. We're flying. This is good. There are three kinds of people. Those who make things happen, those who let things happen, those who wonder what happened. Okay? The first one is the victor. The last two are the victims. You either make things happen, you let things happen, or you wonder what happened. Does that make sense? There's only three ways this can go for you. You either get it and you do something about it, you listen to it and you ignore it, or you deny it and doubt it. That's it. So there's only three ways that you can do any decision. There's a yes, no, and a maybe. That's it. We got it. Fabulous. So we'll get to the end of this thing. So in regard to teaching challenging subject matter, just remember that, okay? Look into this. Don't trust a word I say. Go home, look it up. However, know that every search that you do on certain search engines, the results will be altered. Just recently, I went and looked up something, just today, I thought, I wonder what the results would be on GOOGLE, and I went and looked. And then I went over to a different search engine, and boom, there was the link, the event 201. Couldn't find it on Google. It was all over the place on DuckDuckGo. Couldn't find it. What I found on Google was Snopes, fact checkers, saying, oh, everything's false, everything's false. Because don't look the other way. There's no one behind the curtain. Okay. So websites. How do we fix this? So if your deal is the first one to be a victor, to make things happen, what do? You can go to our website, check this out. You can go check out our Divine Design Natural Health website. We got Facebook, we got YouTube. Like us on Facebook. Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah, that's everybody, I want you to memorize this. So just like us on Facebook, you can see our what do you call it? Our WellWorks classes. All of the previous ones are there. Like these, share them, send them to your loved ones and your friends. We do telehealth. You got somebody 500 miles away, guess what? We can do a lot of stuff over the phone. It's easy. Go to the website. Go to our YouTube channel and Facebook. On either one of those, you will find the wellness workshops and you will find the patient testimonials and service videos. So it'll walk you through and say, this is a foot spa, this is a sauna, this is PEMF, this is nutrition, this is chiropractic, this is laser, this is percussion. This is, you can walk through and see all of our different stuff. And you can get uncensored information immediately, at least for the time being, because we are getting, people are getting hammered with Facebook jail. Then we just move it to another platform. I want to just talk real quick too. How many of you know about the fact checkers on Facebook and some of the things that are going on Facebook where you post something and it gets, Facebook takes it down, or they say this is fake news. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening. Happening to everybody across the board. I've had it happen twice on videos that we posted. Say what now?
There's a way to block
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, there's a way to block some of that stuff, but then they rename it and it'll be logic source, or it'll be like, there's other things. Because when they find fake news on your site, it'll say, this was checked by logic source, or this was checked by fact checker. So they come out, it's bots. You can't keep up with them. So you can block them, but they're just going to keep going with more. So just know that censorship's alive and well. Ready? Little comic relief. Tell a joke too while you're up here. Put you on the spot. I know.
All right. So this one says, for 4 years, I blindly took birth control pills and slowly developed chronic GI issues, anxiety attacks, pelvic pain, and eventually severe gallbladder attacks. After reading the pill insert in fine print, it said can cause gallbladder disease. And she later says, a little over a month after quitting the pill, my gallbladder is functioning normally again. I've had no GI problems or anxiety. And my first real menstrual period was much more manageable than I thought. No more hitting a wall with healing.
Nice.
Very recently.
That was, that one sounded new. I hadn't even heard that one yet. Yay! Woo! Andrea does great commercials, doesn't she? So, quick review of the major points from November. I'm going to slam through these. I want you to think of all the stuff in your house. We made a list. Well, if you watch that video, we made a list and we went around the room, and there was literally 30 or 40 things on the list of everything in people's houses that was wireless. Your phones, your tablets, your computers, your mice, your keyboards, your TVs, your washers, your dryers, your refrigerators, everything that's a smart appliance, your speakers, you name it. There's so many things that are sending and receiving signals constantly. Imagine all the stuff in your house, okay? So we had a huge source of things on the whiteboard. And I told a story about my dad's Bluetooth pacemaker. I told a story about my dad's Bluetooth hearing aids. You might want to go back and check that out because that blew my mind. I told a little story about transhumanism, something big that happened at Sam's Club. I told a little story about the Predator movie, the new Predator movie, and how there's a new normal for children's neurodegenerative health. So there's a lot of good stuff in that first class. That was a pretty deep rabbit hole. The video, we'll just skip the video trailer because I know the video trailer is something that we showed. It was a documentary called Generation Zapped. And it was all about this technology, and it was all about what it's doing to the kids, this generation. There's Generation X, the boomers, and then Generation X, and then whatever comes after Generation X. The millennials, I guess. But there's a movie called a trailer for Generation Zapped. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube for free, I think. But that's something that you should check out if you're taking notes. We can go to the EMFs, explain the picture of the electromagnetic spectrum of radiation. So just real quick, what are EMFs? Electromagnetic fields. Your body has them, trees have them, rocks have them, the earth has them. Actually, what we do with the PEMF therapy, it's the electromagnetic fields of the earth. The stuff that you're disconnected from with asphalt and concrete and rubber-soled shoes. There's a small range of vibrations or hertz or cycles per second that we should say that the earth generates from day to night. And there's this rhythm. It's between 0 and 25 hertz. Above that is everything man-made. So you're dealing with synthetic man-made frequencies when we're talking about electromagnetic fields like 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, okay? But some stuff is natural, like red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Those are EMFs that your eyes can pick up. There's a certain frequency, a certain wavelength, I should say, of light that you see as a visible spectrum. There's also a certain wavelength of electromagnetic frequencies that your ear hears as sounds. So if you were to stretch this all out, this is a massive, massive scale of all of electromagnetic fields. The electromagnetic frequency spectrum of radiation is what it's called. If you were to stretch this whole thing out, that's what God said in the beginning. God said, let there be light. Let there be electromagnetic fields. Let there be the electromagnetic spectrum, all of that. What you can see is this little sliver right here. What you can hear is this little sliver right here. Everything else is what you can't see. Think about that. What's real? We think it's what we can hear and we can see, but look at what else there's available out there, okay? So gamma rays, that's heavy duty stuff, okay? X-rays, that's what they put lead blankets over you for when you go get, okay, you tracking with this? So when you go get X-rays. Ultraviolet, that's up here. Beyond violet. Infrared is below red. Ultra means above, infra means below, okay? And then below this is the radio waves. That's how radar, AM, FM radio, and TV work down here. So you're dealing with everything that we're talking about with ultraviolet, or I'm sorry, electromagnetic fields is on this spectrum. Very, very, very high up, right in here. Well, right in here, in this range right here. So electromagnetic spectrum of radiation, laser, infrared, ultraviolet, microwaves, gamma waves, radio waves. Yeah, we won't talk about the rest of that. I had a couple of stories I was going to tell about that, but in the interest of time, let's fly. History of wireless. 40 years ago, we had, in the 1980s, we had the big brick phones, the big cinder block phones, Miami Vice, that they held to their heads with the big giant antenna sticking out. Those were wireless voice calls. Only a few people had those, okay? 2G, text was added in the 90s sometime. I could not figure out when this was added. 3G was 2001. That's when they added wireless internet. 4G, which is what most people are on right now, that was up until about 2018. It increased your video and it increased streaming. That's when phones got super smart, okay? And then 5G, they're telling you it's faster data. And remember, in here, we were installing fiber optic cable. Whatever happened to the fiber optic cable? That worked fine. Now we're putting up antennas for a reason that we'll get into. 5G is faster data, ultra high definition resolution of stuff. So basically you'll be able to download like every book that was ever written within like a minute or two. It's ridiculous. It's so fast. There's so much, nobody could tackle this much information, and no one's asking for this. There was no petition sign that said we need faster internet. You know, this is for global surveillance. It's for using autonomous vehicles. It's for taking away some of your rights and privileges. It's for the grid. It's the smart grid, the smart cities, and for facial recognition. We'll get into all this. So deployment was planned to be deployment is planned to be in front of every 2 to 10 homes in residential neighborhoods. There are literally thousands of these things. You won't even know what half of them look like. 2 to 10 homes in residential neighborhoods. Every 100 to 300 yards is what they're saying. I myself personally have counted between here and Chattanooga 27 towers just within visible range eye shot from Highway 75. 27 towers between here and downtown Chattanooga. 27. That's the ones I could pay attention to while I was driving, trying to keep my eyes on the road and count from the highway. God knows how many are in the hills just out of sight. 4G. Here's another reason. What is it capable of? So 4G, you lose your phone, you turn on your little Find My iPhone thing on your phone, you can find your phone to 50 feet. 5G, they got it down to 3 feet. You can find that thing to 3 feet. So how many feet are you told to be away from people when you're in public?
6.
Why is that? There are apps on your phone now. They can track and figure out how many people are in this room right now. They can figure out how far apart you're sitting from the person next to you. Does that sound like a world you want to be in? So also this will provide another big thing about this, it'll provide a revenue stream to advertisers, to businesses, because there's geofencing. Like if you're a personal injury lawyer and you do a lot of, personal injury cases, and there's another personal injury guy on the other side of the city, you can pay a certain advertising. There's ways to do this where you can write a geofence around your competitor, and any phone that goes into that competitor's office automatically gets an ad on their phone. That's called geofencing. Yeah, this is huge. This is coming, people. This is huge. It's huge. It's going to be huge. It's coming. Geofencing, I won't get into that. There was a lot that I'd love to tell you about that. But so how perfect. We've got you paying for your own surveillance, buying devices that will surveil you and give information to a cloud far away while monitoring your heart rate, your blood pressure, your mood, and your car will eventually not turn on if you're upset or if your heart rate is above a certain. I mean, this just gets rowdy. It's clown town. So it's like sci-fi, but it's in real time. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So that was part one. Okay, so part two, we were going to show a little video, Jesus Christ Superstar. There's a video in Jesus Christ Superstar where Jesus is singing, where all the disciples are saying, "What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. When do we ride into Jerusalem? When do we take over?" And Jesus says, "You wouldn't want to, if you knew the future, if you knew I could plan out facts and figures, even tell you plans and forecasts, but if you knew the future, you wouldn't want to do it." And I was going to show it because it's so satirical and it's so real for what the situation is. We just don't have time to go there. So 5G, big things you need to know. Here you go. 5G interferes with oxygen absorption in your lungs. Does that sound like anything else that's going on right now? Think about it. So you got a lot of people walking into hospitals that their oxygen saturation rates, anybody who's been a patient here knows, you put your little finger into the pulse oximetry that we do, and it'll tell us how much oxygen is in your blood. Usually anything below like 97, 98 is a big deal. These guys are walking in, and mind you, I've spent dozens, if not hundreds of hours watching and listening to other doctors, medical doctors, chiropractors, PhD level research scientists. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it's not on the media, and nobody in this room knows truly what's up, including me. But I've watched this for a lot of hours of watching ER physicians say, this isn't right. So you've got people walking into the hospital at pulse oxes of 70%. That means their blood, something is happening to their blood where they cannot carry oxygen. Do you understand this? There's only one thing out there that's disrupting oxygen. There's only one thing that can do that. It's called radiation. It's a sign. It's a complete radiation poisoning. It's a sign of radiation poisoning. What could that be labeled as if you can't breathe? Say it louder.
COVID.
So they should be in a coma, but they're being diagnosed with COVID, okay, or CV-19. If you read the UN 2030 agenda, we won't get into that right now, but there's a Japanese scientist, I believe his name is Masaru Emoto, who documented, if you guys have ever heard this, you speak to the water and you call it good things and you bless the water and it freezes into good crystals. You curse the water and you play death metal and it freezes into amorphous, just like shapeless crystals, right? A lot of people have heard of this. Very scientific. It's all about energy, wavelength, electromagnetic frequency. You speak good things to something, blessing. You speak bad things to something, curse. I lay before you this day. Right. So it's been in the book for a long time. So we know Masaru Emoto was a Japanese guy who documented all this research on water molecules, freezing of ice crystals. Well, if you have good things going through your body at regular wavelengths, at regular frequencies that the earth gives off that people have had for 6,000 years, your body is how much of its water? 60 to 80%. Right? You see where I'm going with this? If you have something cutting through your body that's bad frequencies, your body's 60, 80% water, depending on the tissues, bones, blood, different, right? Will this affect your body? If you can speak to an ice cube and change its shape, do you think these 5G tower monster beasts rising out of the sea, do you think they can speak to your body and make it sick? Huge, huge. This is going to be huge. So we're made of water on one hand. We breathe oxygen. I'm right there telling you more than you're going to hear on the news. The 5G affects your oxygen and it affects your water. If you're made of water and you breathe oxygen, this is big stuff. You got to look into this. You got to know what's up. U.S. became the first nation to allocate airwaves to 5G, much faster than 4G. Verizon and AT&T, as you saw, started 5G in 2017. Commercial deployment is in 2020. We just saw those videos. You need to know, too, there are these things called active denial systems, or sometimes they're referred to as DEWs, like direct energy weapons. This is the same type of military technology that are direct energy weapons, which are aimed at crowds of rioters to, because it affects water, affect the sweat glands in the rioters so their skin burns. If your skin's burning, are you going to keep chucking stones? This is a directed energy weapon, DEWs. Okay, this is active denial systems. This is military-grade technology. They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. So your sweat glands are actually antenna for 5G, because what's in your sweat glands? Water. So you need to know this. This is high-grade stuff. And when you take that weapon, or the receiver for the weapon, and you put it next to your brain, what are you doing? Okay, we'll talk about mitigating some of this stuff. Another thing is EHS. This is electrohypersensitivity syndrome, they're calling it. There's diagnosis codes for it. There's all EHS, electrohypersensitivity syndrome. Common symptoms of electrohypersensitivity syndrome. Know this. These are the other common symptoms of irradiation. Supported by scientific evidence. I will not go through all the peer-reviewed white paper journal articles of not industry science, but independent science. I will not go through all of them. I can get you the sources if you want. However, here we go. Infertility. We'll talk more about that. Fatigue, thyroid dysfunction. Here's one. Spontaneous abortion. Remember the little article that we have this. Great. Great. Okay. Common symptoms. Great. This is good. Thank you, Andrea. Forgot you had this. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dermatological problems. So here, spontaneous abortion. Remember that article we had from July, the dangers of 5G, that talked about the cancer risk and the kids in the school and the teachers that got weird, rare cancers. Remember that article that we showed? That was the brief overview at the very beginning. Remember that? That's what we're talking about right here. Dermatological problems. Remember the stinging the skin thing that we were talking about? Overexposure to some of this stuff, or just simple exposure to it. This is documented in plant and animal and humans. Think about birds and bees and flowers and trees. And now think about, in your mind, have you seen a decreased number of bugs or birds or squirrels recently? Think about that. We'll get to that in a minute. Dermatological problems, redness, stinging, burning. DNA breaks. What's a DNA break called? What's another word for a DNA break? Cancer. Altered brain development. What's another way of saying altered brain development? Neurological problems, ADD, ADHD, autism, right? Sperm dysfunction. That's the infertility or the erectile dysfunction or the not being able to produce sperm. It affects sperm. It affects the water. ADD, blah, blah, blah. Pineal gland, these are some facts here. Pineal gland dysfunction. It's the highest vibrational organ, can be manipulated to change mood. So if we can vibrate your pineal gland, can we change your mood? Pathogens can be activated by EMFs to secrete more endotoxins. Heavy metals can have increased effects. So if you take in something that has heavy metals, or if you take in something that has heavy metals, are you becoming a bigger antenna for microwave radiation? Pathogens can be activated. So if you've got a bacteria, virus, fungus, let's just say this, viruses, another way to think of viruses is cellular exudates or excretions from malfunctioning cells. Because a virus can't live on its own, it's got to have a host. Viruses are just intracellular parasites, okay? They cannot live by themselves. They're just a bunch of DNA packed in a protein. They come out of cells, okay? They have to replicate in cells. So they come out of cells. So the viruses are exudates or excretions from malfunctioning cells. We won't go into all the physiology, but just know that. These viruses, the viruses we're talking about, all these viruses, the measles, mumps, rubella, the SARS, the Zika, the West Nile, the encephalopathy stuff, the Ebola stuff, the AIDS stuff, they're all viruses. All the stuff people are vaccinated for, 99% of the vaccines are for viruses. Pathogens are affected by EMFs, and they secrete more endotoxins. We'll get more into that in a minute. That will make a lot more sense. MRIs and EEGs, electroencephalograms of the brain are affected by EMFs. You can put someone in a functional MRI or an EEG, shoot them with radio waves, and the magnetism of their brain will change. EMFs cause atrial fibrillation and heart problems, yet the AHA says nothing. We won't get into why that is. Other things. Men who keep phones in pockets are much more sterile. Women who keep phones in their bras, you'll have shaped tumors. What else? Dementia is increasingly diagnosed in the 40s for a lot of people now. Dementia is going through the roof. The WHO listed EHS on the website in 2015. EHS, electrohypersensitivity. It makes your blood-brain barrier, those things, there's no drug that crosses the blood-brain barrier. Okay, but this electrohypersensitivity in people with these problems, and when people are exposed to radiation, it makes your blood-brain barrier and your gut barrier permeable. So it compromises your microbiome, your gut, all of your bacteria. Because the bacteria are getting shot with the same radiation you're getting shot with, guess what? They're living critters too. But this viral stuff, it increases viral load. We'll talk more about that maybe later. Love this one. It hardens female eggs. So the only thing that's going to be able to get you pregnant will eventually be a needle at a fertility clinic. Yeah. This is a sterility device. Yeah. This is sterilization without fluoride in the water because that would cost too much money. to poison everybody, and they'd have to get you to drink it. Here, they don't have to get anything. They don't have to get you to do anything. You just got to sit there and breathe. Think about it. Suppresses the skin's ability to produce vitamin D. So here goes your depression, here goes your cancer, here goes your heart disease, here goes your hypertension. Pandemic viral testing right here is called real-time polymerase chain reaction testing. So what we're doing right now, they're testing for RNA fragments which can be present from EMF exposure. What does that tell you? And coronavirus is a class of viruses. It's not just one little thing. I could test you right now, everybody in this room, you got coronavirus. So are these numbers being inflated? Are some of these numbers they're trying to fool you? Coronavirus is everywhere, always has been. This one, could it be a virulent, biowarfare change in a lab? Could it be? Yeah, absolutely. They pretty much admitted it. They are working on viral biowarfare weapons, and they're cloning humans. If you think they're not, we cloned a sheep 25 years ago. You think we're not cloning kids? You out of your mind? Man, it's crazy. So, radio waves around World War I have to give some credit here on Thomas Cowan. He was the MD. He's got some great books out there. And he put together Arthur Furstenberg's work and The Invisible Rainbow, a book that Arthur Furstenberg did. And you guys have probably seen some of this, and I talked about it in the last class back in November. Well, I'll just make it real short. World War I, radio waves. Radio was invented late 1800s, right? All of a sudden, antennas all over the earth. World War I. We're fighting a world war. You've got radio waves all over the earth for the first time in history. Man-made synthetic radiation is blanketing the earth. World War I. What happened in World War I? 1917, 1918. Spanish flu, remember? Fast forward, World War II. You got the polio thing, which we'll talk about in the evil parents of autoimmunity at the 2 classes from now, I believe. Yeah. That's June 1st, 3 classes from now. World War II, you've got the whole entire world being blanketed by radar and sonar so that we can track the ships and the planes. So we had a lot of sick people during that period too. 68, there was a Hong Kong, thousands of satellites that we launched into the Van Allen belt. So now we're getting radiated from space with all these satellites. So there's nowhere you're going to hide. Now we're in 2020 and we're rolling out 5G. So is there a pattern with radio waves being able to cause a lot of sickness in people? Yeah. Does it ever cause bacterial problems? It causes viral problems, doesn't it? Interesting, huh? So there's a lot that we could say about that, but I definitely want you to get this. Medicine, we hit this last time. Remember this. What are the 2 causes? Medicine will always only give you 2 causes for diseases, pretty much. That's one of them. If you can get this, what's the other one? Medicine will always tell you it's bacteria, virus, fungus, parasite, it's germs. You got it. Good job. Somebody was listening. Was that the last class, Jane? Is that the last? Yeah. So think about it this way, and I got to hand it to Thomas Cowan here. He has got a wonderful example. This is him. He said this. This is brilliant. And he said, he's an MD. And he said, if a bunch of dolphins in a bay got sick, would you think that that was genetic? Oh, I just hit my mic. Sorry. Would you think it's genetic? If a bunch of dolphins got sick, how could it be genetic? Right? Let's just think logically, scientifically, physiologically, right? How would the dolphins get sick if it's all genetic? No, nobody would think it's genetic. If the dolphins all got sick, would you think it's germs? Would you think they caught a virus or something? Some people would. A lot of people would. However, if you know about this, Louis Pasteur, we talked about Pasteur. If you know about this, Pasteur is how medicine operates right now. There's another dude named Antoine Beauchamp. Pasteur said germs cause all disease. Antoine Beauchamp said germs can't do anything unless the terrain allows them to grow. In other words, if that terrain, if that microbiome, if that body is sick, those germs can't grow. Pasteur won out. That's a whole different topic of history and American medicine, stuff like that. Pasteur, they were both French, by the way. But this was in the turn of the century, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago. The germ theory won out. So everybody's running around thinking, well, germs. We got to kill all the germs. Do you know how futile that is?
Yeah.
Are you daft to think you're going to kill every virus and germ and bacteria and virus and fungus and parasite on this earth? You are fighting a losing battle, my friend. They outweigh you, outnumber you, outgun you. You're done. Don't fight them, embrace them. They're your friends. They have one job and one job only, to return non-viable tissue to the dust from which it came. They are doing their job, and if you fight them, they will bite back. Don't be stupid. So Antoine Beauchamp said the terrain theory. He said, no, man, everybody's exposed to all this crap. If you took a breath, B.J. Palmer said it this way. If the germ theory of B.J. Palmer was the son of the founder of chiropractic, B.J. Palmer, a mentor. If you read his stuff, it'll blow your mind. He said this. He said, if the germ theory of disease was true, there'd be no one around, there'd be no one alive to believe it.
Yeah.
You'd die on your next breath if the germ theory of disease was true. What is medicine based on? What is natural health based on? So if your terrain is solid, if your fences are high, ain't nothing getting over that fence. Rambo himself could not get over that fence, because if you know how your immune system works, you have no fear. It is the baddest militarized army on earth, special forces all the way to tanks and airplanes. This thing is such a brilliant, there are books written on immunology, and we still don't know anything about it. I'm telling you. So look at the environment and perhaps see the oil has passed. Some would test and see if they had a virus. We'd make tests and sell tests and poke blood, and then we'd find out that the tests were contaminated, and now your blood, now you do have the disease because we bought the test from China and the needles were, crap. That's what's going to happen. Predicting. But look at the environment and perhaps see the oil had poisoned the water, resulting in a virus replicating in the dolphins. This makes the most sense and is the actual truth. This is what happened with the Exxon Valdez leaking oil. That's exactly what happened. You got a bunch of trees in the area. Trees get, think about it. You got a bunch of trees in the area. Would you go test the trees and figure out if it's, send their DNA into 23andMe or Ancestry.com and see what kind of disease they got? No, that's asinine. Would you think they all caught a virus? You could. Or would you look at the thing that's on the ground that they're soaking up into their roots, making them sick? What makes the most logical, scientific, physiological sense? Now, think of 5G. What is going on with our society? What's increasing? What's getting worse? And what's in our bodies? And what's getting more and more powerful? Is our chemicals going up or down? Are the shots going up or down? Are the bad foods going up or down? You see the pattern? Is the 5G getting turned on or off? Correct. So, commercial break.
Yeah.
Commercial break. Yay, Andrea. Woo!
All right. So I'm going to share two because they're both pretty quick. This first one says, I had a constant cough with lots of phlegm, and it just wouldn't go away with over-the-counter meds such as Mucinex. Upon coming to Divine Design, Dr. Brett gave me a lung supplement, and within about 3 days, my coughing is gone. I have no underlying wheezing, and I feel great in my breathing.
Yay. Ooh, that was a tasty one. One more.
Yeah, they're pretty quick.
One more.
So this one says, I had swelling on my left neck. I came for a visit, and Dr. Brett adjusted my ears. Who knew you could adjust an ear? The following morning, the swelling was gone. I learned something new every time I come here. And I can personally attest to how well the ear adjustments work. And it's quite a surprising adjustment, but it works.
Yeah.
Works well.
Yeah, it worked great.
And you do still have your ears when you're done.
Yes. Yeah. She wasn't listening to me one day, and I said, yo, Andrea, get over here. No, I'm just kidding. She's wonderful. She's wonderful. She does a great job around here. So yeah, round of applause for Andrea. Yeah, every bone in your body can move. Your skull bones, your ears, your jaw, your TMJ, all that stuff can move. You know what? No drug can make those bones move. No surgery can make those bones move. Not in a way that you want to do it again. I promise. Okay, so I'm going to run through some facts. So this is great. I give Thomas Cowan all the credit for that because that is a brilliant way to understand and describe medicine, healthcare, and your body. You cannot outgun every virus because you know what? The minute you get a handle on when Mr. Billy Boy comes out with his magical vaccine and magically eradicates the CV, what's going to be on the other side of it? Say it louder.
A new one?
A new one. When you eradicate that one magically with your pharmakia, what's going to be on the other side of that one? So how many shots are you going to line up for? Yeah. All right, so here's some real stats I'm going to run through. You guys need to know this. 50% of the population is expected to die of Alzheimer's disease. Research shows it's directly related to microwave radiation, Lyme, viral brain infections, aluminum, mercury exposure. Aluminum and mercury exposure, you need to know where it's coming from. In the last 20 years, lifespan has decreased by 10 years.
Wow.
In the last 20 years, it's all research. Lifespan has decreased by 10 years and is exponentially shortening, okay? This is all stuff people have put out. These PhD level research scientists, they're not paid by, they're just noting observations. They're not trying to sell you solutions, okay? In the last few years, 80% of insects and 70% of songbirds, remember that story we just talked about, have vanished in areas with great cell phone coverage. And great is in parentheses, or I'm sorry, quotes. Potent synergy between toxins, pathogens, and radiation is intentional. It must be. The greatest minds on earth, who are these scientists who are studying biology and ecosystems and radiation, they're going, this was planned. It was by design. It couldn't be any other way. Okay? Microwave exposure opens the blood-brain barrier, all the stuff that we talked about. In U.S. women, death by neurological disease has increased 663% in the last 20 years. The only thing that has increased at that rate in the last 20 years is radiation exposure. Everyone complains of memory loss, brain fog. Do you know anybody that doesn't complain of memory loss and brain fog? You can't remember? Is that what you said?
Yeah, right?
A lot of studies I'm not going to get through. Slides of the white paper. This is a huge thing. So we'll go to the history of chiropractic here. This is beautiful because this is what happened. Okay, you got to understand, like out of every gray cloud, there's a silver lining. So what the enemy means for bad, you can turn it around, wrap it the other way, and use it for good. We're going to talk about the official history of chiropractic in Texas. This is a book by a chiropractor, but the excerpts are put together by one of my mentors, Dan Murphy, one of the great minds of chiropractic. Still, he's been in practice 43 years, one of my great mentors. And we'll pull it up so y'all can see it. But then in 1917-1918, influenza epidemic swept silently across the world, bringing death and fear to homes in every land. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm just going to go blast through this because it's like a 4-page document. So the effect of the epidemic becomes evident in interviews made with old-timers practicing in those years. The refrain comes repeatedly. I was about to go out of business when the flu epidemic came, but when it was over, I was firmly established in practice. Why? The answer is reasonably simple. Chiropractors got fantastic results from influenza patients while those under medical care died like flies all around. I will explain why here momentarily. Statistics reflect a most amazing, almost miraculous state of affairs. The medical profession was practically helpless with the flu victims, but the chiropractors seemed able to do no wrong. Why would that be? I will tell you. Well, and first and foremost, there's a lot so here he goes through in Davenport, Iowa. Understand, Davenport, Iowa is the home of chiropractic. That's where the first chiropractic school was. Chiropractic was codified. It's been around 6,000 years. The Chinese, the Egyptians, all these cats were walking on backs and understood muscle and bone physiology and anatomy. They knew it. They knew stuff I guarantee you, some of these healers of the old times knew stuff we still don't know. I won't get into that any further, but understand this, it's an ancient art. Okay, the hands of another person is the oldest healing instrument on earth. So chiropractors, it was codified and systematized in 1895 by a guy named D.D. Palmer, who was the father of the B.J. Palmer I've previously mentioned to you. So in 1895, what happened in 1869 that revolutionized science? Who released a book that told everyone they were a fancy monkey? Darwin. A few years later, here comes D.D. Palmer on the scene saying, no, bro, we got innate intelligence. Lightning didn't hit a mud puddle and make you and me. He called it, innate intelligence. It was a word of saying God and Jesus. He just didn't want to peep people off, But D.D. Palmer basically codified chiropractic in 1895. When did this happen? 1917. 23 years later, and this is what's happening already. Imagine the power of a chiropractic adjustment, what I'm talking about. You turn on trillions of cells. You're not cracking bones. Don't let people tell you. You are moving those bones, because that's the hardest part for you to manipulate, right? And I hate that word manipulate. I should say adjust. You're moving those bones, but what's attached to those bones? What's holding the bone to bone? Something called ligament. What's holding the muscles to the bones? Something called tendons. What's going through and around and in the bones and through the muscles? Nerves, arteries, veins, lymph nodes. So when I adjust a shoulder, am I cracking a bone, or am I turning on lymph nodes, blood vessels, nerves, tendons, ligaments, bones, bone marrow, and immune system? What am I doing? The first or the last? You understand why they don't want you to know this? So look at this. So this is the stats in Davenport, Iowa. This is here for the whole state. We can scroll through that. I won't confuse you with all the numbers, but I mean, it's, hold on, go up a little bit. This is reports in New York City, and there's national figures here. So we did Davenport, Iowa, the city, and the stats. We did the state of Iowa and the stats. Then we did nationally in the stats. So right here are the figures. 1,200 chiropractors treated 46,000 patients for influenza during 1918 with a loss of 54 patients. 1 out of every 886. You know how good those numbers are? Check this out, and we'll come down here. But then they did reports in New York City. Then they did in the same epidemic, under drugless methods, 25 patients died of influenza out of 10,000 cases. Drugless methods, okay, 25 out of 10,000. And 100 patients died of pneumonia out of 10,000. Made more striking, this comparison is by the following table. Influenza, under medical methods, you got 10% of people dying. Drugless methods, fraction of a percent. Pneumonia, under medical methods, you've got about 6% dying. Under drugless methods, you've got less than 1% dying. Why? Because you stimulate the immune system and turns the body on. But here's the deal. That's what chiropractors do. What does the drug stuff do? You're sick already. We take a poison and give it to you, and you get sicker. Every once in a while, if your body needs help and has a problem with time and you're overrun with bacteria and life-saving antibiotic, boom. Those were the ones that we pull them back out of the grave. That's emergency medicine. But these people, all they had to do was go get their immune system modulated, attenuated, turned on, amplified. Here we go. So during World War II, a medical officer was in charge, sent all influenza patients in for chiropractic adjustments from Dr. McMurray. For the several months, the epidemic raged in that area, and Lieutenant Colonel McNaughton, the detachment commander, was so impressed he requested to have this guy commissioned into the Sanitary Corps. Watch what he did. This is a different guy. This guy, Paul Myers of Wichita Falls, was authorized to write prescriptions. What's the only thing I don't do with my license? Write prescriptions and cut people. Those are the only two things. But this guy, they said, man, we got to have you write prescriptions. He said, for the duration of the epidemic, but Dr. Myers said he never wrote any, getting better results without meds. He had prescription rights, and he said, I don't need them. Right here, Helen Mason, whose son was only a year old, see those initials there means doctor of chiropractic. Became very ill with bronchitis. My husband and I took him to several medical specialists without any worthwhile results. We called a chiropractor as a last resort. When do people come to me? First or last? Last. 100 years ago, they're still doing the same thing. They're doing the whole medical thing over and over and over and over, and then they're coming and dumping their carcass at my feet and going, help me. I'm missing 6 organs, I'm on 12 meds, I eat crap food, and I'm 100 pounds overweight. Help me out. 45 years late, but get on the table, okay? We discussed this amazing cure at length and came to the decision that if chiropractic could do as much for the health of other individuals as it did for our son, we wanted to become what? That's how it took off. The Spanish flu of 1917, 1918 was what amplified natural health. Dr. M.L. Stanfill recounts his experience. This guy went on horseback, drove a buggy all day and night to go over to his patients. When the rain and snow came, he just stayed there. He wasn't a member of my family that had the flu. How many people here, I haven't seen a sniff, hundreds of patients. I have not seen a sniffle. I have not seen a sore throat. I have not seen a cough. The minute this thing broke, hey, do you want to have, if you want a higher fence, a little bit of an insurance policy, do you want a couple things just for you, your family, your husband, your cats, your dogs, your kids, your grandparents, your nephews? Here's some liquid stuff, just to boost your immune system. Let me know if so. Looks like you're on a couple things. You'll be okay. Either way. Oh, yeah, let's do that. My husband could use something. Guess how many people I've heard of getting sick? Continue. Once again, this guy, so when he went to the next town, he said once again, he took all the cases that had been given up this guy had 18 miles over west of this town. He had pneumonia. He went and stayed all night with this guy until he came to the next morning. He's still living today. Gave me a boost on the west side of town. It's the best marketing he ever did. Okay, decision to become a chiropractor after remarkable recovery or when a close family member given up for dead suddenly came back to a vibrant health. That's most chiropractors and their patients were miraculously spared. We repeatedly hear this. I repeatedly hear this, and it's 100 years later. I mean, the book was probably written in the 60s or 70s. Some of these men and women were to become the major characters thrust upon the profession stages in the 20s and 30s. Some of these fathered and taught my mentors. And they had the courage, the background, and the conviction to withstand all that would shortly be thrown against them, including being thrown in jail for practicing what without a license? Yeah, practicing medicine. But the AMA and all the people at the time, the bigwigs that ran the medical schools and the pharmaceutical industries that have certain initials that we'll talk about here in a little bit, called it medicine so that we could, let's throw all these quacks in prison. Okay? Publicity and reputation of such effectiveness in handling flu cases also brought new patients and much acclaim from people who knew nothing of chiropractic before 1918. It was the best advertising they ever did. What was the best advertising for me ever? The Unaffordable Care Act. People realized, I got to take my health in my own hands. Better acceptance by the public followed. More patients meant financial safety for practicing chiropractors. Dedicated chiropractors came into the profession in increasing numbers, and they had a sure sense of certainty, heady conviction, and a great willingness to fight for the cause because they saw through the shenanigans, right? Moving on. So, we might as well just talk about this. Presiding over medicine during the Spanish flu, over the medical schools, over the pharmaceutical industry was this guy named John D. Rockefeller. Some of you may know this. The Rockefeller Foundation stuff that I talked about 4 weeks ago. I can't remember the name of the class, but we talked about the Rockefeller Foundation, how they had a think tank and they got together in 2010 and pretty much predicted exactly what you're seeing go on in the world right now. If you go back and you watch that class, that was, Andrea, what was the name of that class? Why am I drawing a blank? It was, why am I drawing a blank on the name of the class? No, Andrea, what was the name of the class with the, when COVID first, yes, thank you, A Snake in the Face. If you go back and check out Snake in the Face, yeah, A Snake in the Face, we talk about the Rockefeller Foundation, and there was this document written in 2010 that pretty much, right down to the toilet paper and the malaria drug details that documented this very thing going on. So there was a colleague of John D. Rockefeller's that partnered with him at the time during this whole Spanish flu thing. His name was Frederick Taylor Gates. Anybody want to guess who he was related to?
Billy?
He's the grandfather of old Billy. And he's also, and you also know Bill's father was the head of, was a eugenicist for Planned Parenthood, or correct, headed up or CEO'd or CFO'd Planned Parenthood. He was raised to bring this to the public. This is his job, okay? So he's the founder of Microsoft, co-founder of the Johns Hopkins University-sponsored Event 201. Event 201 was a big thing. Let's go to that, we're getting there. Event 201, that in October 18th, 2019, simulated a world response to severe pandemic outbreaks of the same influenza strain that claimed 50 million lives back in 1918. The same strain, I'll say it again, of influenza that rocked 50 million people in 100 years ago. They were talking on October 18th of last year, 7 months ago, of a severe pandemic that was going to break out. They were planning for it. It was a simulation of what would happen to the world, what would happen to the economies, what would happen to the stock markets, what would happen to the hospitals, what would happen to people, what would happen to certain industries. This was 90 days before the outbreak. So 100 years ago, you had the same people, the same organizations, the same outcome. 100 years forward, you've got their descendants. Same people, same outcome, same purpose. Is there an agenda at hand? So if you do not believe that something's coordinated, you will never see that something's coordinated. If you don't believe that there probably are dog bombs in your dog run out behind your house, if you don't believe there's dog bombs, you will probably not see the dog bombs, and you might step on the dog bombs and get a squishy treat between your toes. Radiation poisoning and flu symptoms have similar presentations. So this slide here, I'll just symptoms of CV-19 according to Johns Hopkins. Moderate to high fever, seizures, extreme pains in the head and bones, shortness of breath, pneumonia, poor oxygen saturation. Remember what we talked about with radiation exposure? Does this look familiar? Same stuff. Profuse bleeding from nose. You're going to see kids going back to school, and you're going to see them dropping over with nosebleeds. How do I know? Because they're already reporting it in cities with this. I know. So 201, this website here, I want you to check this out. This will rip your face. This will steal your face. This is nuts. We're going a little late. So we can blow this up a little. Perfect. Yeah. Event 201 simulates an outbreak of a novel, that means new. They're throwing this word around like it's a big word. It means new. A novel means we've never seen it before, which means it's a new DNA. We put it together in a lab. That's what that means. Novel zoonotic coronavirus transmitted from bats to pigs. See, this was a scenario written a while back. This is something they did in October, okay? That eventually becomes efficiently transmissible from person to person, leading to a severe pandemic. The pathogen and the disease it causes are modeled largely on SARS. Does that sound familiar? But it's more transmissible in the community setting by people with mild symptoms. It starts in pig farms, blah, 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 goes to Portugal. There's no possibility of a vaccine being available in the first year. There's a fictional antiviral drug. Are you reading this? That can help the sick but not significantly limit the spread. Since the whole human population is acceptable. What? During the initial months of the pandemic, the cumulative number of cases increases exponentially, doubling every week. And as the cases and deaths accumulate, the economic and societal consequences become increasingly severe. Scenario ends at the 18-month point. Who said 18 months recently in interviews? Who said 18 months recently in interviews? He said, this is going to go on. The lockdown's going to be for 18 months. Who said it? Self-admittedly, Bill Gates. He said, this is going to go on. We need to stay on lockdown for 18 months until everyone on Earth is vaccinated. That's what he said. Has no one seen this? You've seen this? Yes, okay. So it's interesting that this was October of 2019, middle of October. This thing dropped 90 days later, and here's Bill stating the same exact thing. It's right in front of your face. This is not any theory. This is reality here. This is real deal. Oh, go back to that. This is the best part. So the pandemic is beginning to slow due to the decreasing number of susceptible people. The pandemic will continue at some rate until there's an effective vaccine, or until 80 to 90% of the global population has been exposed. From that point on, it is likely to be an endemic childhood disease. So the scenario ends with what? 65 million deaths. They put a number on it. Do you understand? Like, you got to have modeling and do statistics to put a number on this and see how fast it's going to spread from that first guy in Portugal or wherever it was on pig farms. It's just, it's a clown show. You can't, it's a clown show. You can't predict this. This is stranger than fiction. We're almost done. I'm flying. We're getting really good. Oh, your turn? Yay! More testimonials.
Yeah. And Danny, if you're watching, I expect that you're the first one to clap every time.
Danny, yes. Danny. I know he's there. I know he's there.
All right. This one says, I was having problems with hormone imbalance, gut issues, and allergies. Now I am experiencing great results. My hormonal imbalance is considerably better. I'm not having near as many issues with my stomach, and my allergy issues are all but gone. Best 2 weeks ever. So that was all over a 2-week period.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How about those genetics? So many people, they think, well, my parents had allergies, so I'm just going to always have allergies. This next slide, you got to see this. This is good. This is the Wuhan thing. 5G network coming to Wuhan. This was a picture. Oh, yeah. 5G network coming to Wuhan dated 4/18. That was April 18th. Well, Wuhan was the first city in the world to have completed 100% coverage of 5G. Completed in December of 2019. Interesting. When did this start? And then China is the first nation required by law. I did not vet this yet. I heard this someplace. I tried to find this, and I could not vet this. I'll be honest with you. But they had a lot of people vaccinated in China. Do not be mistaken. This is the country that says how many kids you can have. So they got your blood. They got your DNA. Absolutely. To be 100% shot by December 1st. When did all this stuff roll out? I'm telling you, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. First city in the world to have completed 100% coverage of 5G. They already had crappy air, so were people's lungs going to be compromised? And when you saw the pictures, the first pictures, now I'm not saying this is 100%, but you got a communist country and we're getting stuff out of communist countries. Are we getting the right numbers? Who knows? Are we getting the right videos? Who knows? But when somebody falls down on the subway and they start convulsing and bleeding out of their head, is that a flu?
No.
You don't have to have a medical degree to go cross-eyed on that one. You don't, no, it's not a flu. All right. We'll skip through this. So the slides, these points, these are the major points of review for everybody, okay? And the media, oh, that's tiny. That's fine, though. I'll just read them out loud. So the media, things you got to understand that they are not talking about. They are not, see, it's just like the Bible. It's just like the Word. You can see just as much in what it's not saying sometimes as what it does say. If you can read between the lines and say, it's interesting that Jesus didn't say this, but he did say this. Why didn't he say this? You can look at it and go, The talking points on the media narrative, they are not talking about nutrition. They're not talking about environmental factors. They're not talking about 5G. They're not talking about Wuhan, these correlations that doctors and scientists across the world have figured out. They're not talking about your immune system. They're not talking about how to build it, while pushing CV testing, drug therapy, and attacks on personal medical sovereignty, okay? It's interesting what they're not mentioning. Next, this yellow one. This hit me so hard, it about knocked my face off. God spent 7 days on the universe, but 9 months on you. So think about how bad to the bone your immune system is. Think about that. Do you have faith that your immune system will rock this thing, or do you have fear that this thing will rock your immune system? Look at people that you know. This whole thing is teaching me, I didn't know people like I thought I knew them. And I know you're all feeling the same. It's turning who I thought would be brave, valiant warriors into pink-pantied pansies.
Amen.
And it is turning people who didn't believe in God, people who were pro-shots, into, holy cow, this stuff's actually happening, and Billy and the boys played their cards in front of the whole world. There must be something that's important because it's being censored. And people are waking up. It's a good thing in one respect, but the pink-pantied pansies ones, it's a bad thing, because I thought, man, I thought you were a brother. We were going to go arm in arm on this thing, and you're just backing down like a pansy. I can't believe it. Next thing. So resist the agenda. There are not too many people on the planet. That's what you're being told. This is a purposefully misguided effect. All of this global warming and the overpopulation, we got to depopulate. There's too many people. It's because humans are the problem to these people. The humans are the virus, not the virus. You're the virus. Okay? Purposefully directed misuse of technologies and resources, preventing the harmonious ability to produce energy and live peacefully on Earth. The world can sustain an estimated 28 billion people. How do I know? Drive through Kansas and Iowa.
Nobody there.
Corn, cows.
Love it.
How do I know? Drive through Montana. Tell me that we don't have more land. So so what I mean, they're purposefully misdirected use of technology and resources. It's not that there's too many people eating too much food. It's that the food is not managed because of the powers that be. Next, the only reason you should ever wear a mask is to defeat the. I figured this one out. I've got a special mask selected just for if they ever go mandatory and they won't let you go get food without it. I got a special mask. You didn't say which kind of mask. I'm just going to wear a mask. I got a special one. The only reason you should ever wear a mask is to defeat the facial recognition features of artificial intelligence. Next, this is all in response to one single virus. We kind of covered this earlier. There are thousands of others not being discussed. The ones that came before have been forgotten. It's my prediction. The big one's coming. Next slide. The big one is coming. The ones that came before, the SARS and the Ebola and the AIDS, been forgotten. They're not talking about this. They're talking about a flu virus. Think about it. There are thousands more viruses. They can take their pick. You got to be prepared. That's the point of this whole thing. Do not walk into the future being weak and sick. You are being indoctrinated to accept surveillance, rationing, house arrest, infrared temperature scans, and eventually mandatory shots. Kids in the fall may be forced. Everyone is now homeschooling. You ain't special. Homeschooling used to be a way to keep your kids from getting shots. Now everybody's homeschooling. Prepare now. Next. The public remains woefully ignorant to the ingredients of the shots, the carcinogens, sterilants. There are things in there to sterilize you. I've studied this for years of my life. You got to look at this. It's right in plain sight. If you want the stuff right from the manufacturers, I got the excipient charts and I've got the product monographs. It's like the instruction manual for the vaccine, or the shots. I've got them. All you got to do is read it. Carcinogens, sterilants, fetal stem cells, aborted ones, okay, animal DNA, preservatives, antibiotics, and disinfectants. Disinfectants. You heard much about disinfectants lately? It was a brilliant play, what he did. Genius, what he did. He exposed, I won't get into it right now. It was genius. If you don't think he knows what he's doing, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Rational, educated people cannot accept this. Irrational, emotional people most certainly will. You have to think logically on this, not emotionally. You have to think, okay, maybe I was taught my whole life that smallpox and polio went bye-bye, and maybe they didn't. Maybe we renamed them. Maybe we renamed them. Negative interaction of 5G and endogenous toxins is well established. Remember, these are the key points by the scientific literature, as we covered. If you want the studies, if you want the journal articles, if you want the PubMed, let me know. And I'll show you where it tells you where there is no financial kickback, okay? ID 2020, the Rockefeller Foundation, the WHO, the CDC, Together at Home celebrities. Anybody hear of this Together at Home demonic ritual that was going on? No? The thing that was on CBS, NBC, every station, Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and what's his face, Stephen Colbert, that guy, Stephen Colbert, that guy, has a little clip on an anointed man of God from this town that you probably don't know, and he played his cards, showed who he was, and I've never wanted to drop kick a guy in the throat as hard as that time, I'm telling you. But anyway, so Stephen Colbert, this whole thing, this Together at Home, it was a demonic ritual. They're getting people ready for the COVID culture. Yeah, I heard that. They're getting people ready for the COVID, that's what they're calling it, the COVID culture. They're doing dances in like hazmat suits. Did you see all this? Nobody knows about this? It was on every network. It was a massive thing. Massive thing. Lady Gaga put the whole thing together. You got to know this stuff, guys. Celebrities are pushing CV culture as a new normal with leanings toward global currency, religion, and government, all controlled by nanotechnology, robotics, artificial intelligence, and synthetic genetics. All networks, it was on all networks with Fallon, Kimmel, and Colbert. I've never wanted to drop kick a guy in the throat so hard for the smart alecky crap that dude spat out of his cake hole. Oh, he was just made me sick. I will never watch another thing by that dude. Phone apps and websites are now available to report non-compliant friends and family members. Is that amen or is that no amen? You've got the Stasi letting you Gestapo out your buddies if they're not wearing a mask and staying 6 feet away from the other fool. Isn't it crazy? 5G is being installed in schools, hotels, and universities while you're at home living in fear and while you're arguing on social media with people you don't like. Your kids are home from school. They're installing crap in the school. Go look at your schools. Tell me that's not true. Go look at your hotels while they're closed down, and go look at your universities while they're closed down, and tell me you don't see those big towers. Crazy, huh? Asymptomatic carrier means the same thing as a newborn baby being labeled as pre-diabetic. Think about that. You're an asymptomatic carrier. You're an asymptomatic carrier of a lot of stuff. Thank God you don't know it, right? That's the same thing as a brand new little baby. So, it's precancerous. It's pre-diabetic. The logic that you are being, the logic. It's so crazy. This choreographed pandemic is a distraction to reprogram humanity for beast system and military dues, the directed energy weapons across the world. Here's stuff. Doctors and hospitals are reporting high numbers of CV cases due to numerical coercion. You want to know what I mean by that? I'll talk about it. And government, ubiquitous CV, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And government money, all while laying off workers from empty hospitals, thereby preparing for certain overwhelm when the second wave is shortly released. You're going to have all your hospitals at half manpower, and then what happens when they dump it out of the planes? What's going to happen to the hospitals? Then we got problems. What do I mean by this? Numerical coercion? I got this vital statistics reporting guidance for certifying deaths due to coronavirus disease, 2019. This basically tells you that unless they died, how many in here are medical? This is in the hospitals. All the doctors get this. Unless they died of a gunshot or they got torn up in a motor vehicle accident, it's COVID. Do the numbers? It's just like it's the same thing what they did for polio. It is the same thing that what they did. So what's going to happen to the numbers of CV cases? As the death certificates are signed as COVID, these doctors are acting out. There are truthful, honest, good people in the medical profession, and they're saying, this ain't right. They're telling me they didn't die of CV. They died of COPD. But according to this, we get more money from the GOVT if we say it's COVD. I got it right here. This is the paper from the CDC, from the National Health Institute, from the Health and Human Services, and from the WHO. This is it. You want to read it? It's right here. It's crazy. It's all over the internet. They can't send tanks and planes. Our own military wouldn't do it. So they're sending smart dust from planes, 5G from towers, and shots from the pit of hell. That's what they're doing. Smart dust. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get into it right now. It's geoengineering. That's the stuff. Stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. We haven't had a whole lot of it since this whole thing went down. You noticed? Yeah, the planes have stopped. It's crazy, isn't it? Next. Where are we? Oh, yeah. So churches are shut down praying for shots while a very prominent and very highly respected televangelist is demanding one from heaven. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'm not going to say his name. Very prominent, very respected televangelist is demanding a vaccine from heaven. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know. You can't fault him. He's just the same as what we'd all been taught. But half the people are laughing at him going, oh man, he's so off. And then the other half of people are like, yes, we need a vaccine. Pray to God for a vaccine. God already gave you one. It's called your immune system. There is no vaccine man will create that will be greater than your immune system. Mark it, put it on your calendar, quote me on it. Yeah. Yes. Gavel down. They're already talking about a new disease called Disease X. They will have a shot for this as well. It's a Disease X. You know why? It can be anything. The next wave will be genetically modified, as all viruses are, and highly virulent with a short incubation period. I'm guaranteeing you this, just based on the patterns that what we're seeing. The next wave will have a short incubation period. That means you get infected, 10 days you're dead. Or 20 days, whatever it is, 3 weeks, 21 days. This is the way it's going to shake down. I promise you. Something like this. I hate to say this, and I'm not speaking it into existence. I'm just saying, prediction-wise, this is just their game plan. It's a pattern. Yeah. It's a pattern. So think about it this way. Incubation period, you get infected, boom. From that day forward, from the first symptomatology, boom, you got 10 days. Short virulent, highly virulent, with a short incubation period. So seeing friends and family quickly die will inspire acceptance of a promised cure in the form of a magical shot. I promise you, this is where, I hate to say it, you guys. Mark of the Beast is animal DNA merging with your own. So you're not fully human anymore. Check this out, because you're going to get animal DNA merging with your DNA. And you're not fully human anymore. No more redemption. Bye-bye. Guess what? Why is it called Mark of the Beast? The shots are meant for one thing. It is to change the seed. That's what they're doing. They're changing your DNA. And DNA just happens to be a light wave carrier. You can program DNA to carry light, and you can also program DNA to vibrate at certain frequencies based on what frequencies they're being hit with. You're an antenna. Remember, you're an electromagnetic being. Pray for your enemies. Pray for Gates. Pray for Fauci. Pray for Pelosi. Pray for all these people, man. They just don't know. But more than that, harder than that, pray for DJT. Seriously, pray harder for your president. He's up against some stuff, I'm telling you. He knows what's up, too. He knows what's up. You do not want to be weak, sick, or feeble. I cannot state this enough. I will say it. I will scream it from the mountaintops. You do not want to be weak, feeble, or sick when this hits. If you think that you're going to just get through this with your Pop-Tarts and your candy bars and your cereal from what disappears at the stores when all this happens? Crap food. What feeds a virus? What feeds a bacteria? What feeds cancer? Sugar. All the crap that everybody's eating. So when the second wave hits and it's released, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be honest from above. It's going to be in the air. It's going to be, it can't be water. It can't be like this weird bat soup that somebody chokes down. No. They're going to crumple you from above in the skies. It has to happen. It has to. I don't want to say it like that, but you don't want to be sick. Trust me. So what do we do? Personal solutions. You got to reduce your use. What can you do? What are the solutions? Were you motioning me? No? Okay. I do not carry my phone during the day. It is not on me. I put it on my desk. I do not carry it on me all day long. You try to get a hold of me, you text me, you call me, I will not see it until I go home at the end of the day. I do not have my phone on me out of respect for patients and out of respect for my body. I don't want to carry it on me. I know most people can't do that. But if you do reduce your use, find ways to reduce the use of your phone. Only have it certain time periods. You have no idea how much time that will save you not sitting on your phone. Number 2, increase distance from phone and other EMF sources. The inverse square law says that as the distance is increased, the radiation goes down much in a great way. Favor hardwired connections over wireless if you can. That means plug the stuff into your Cat 5 into the wall like we used to. Use a dumb phone more smartly and use a neutralizer or a blocker of some sort. Okay? These are sticky adhesive things that go right on your phone. We have a special going, buy 3 get 1 free, or if you buy one of these, you get one of these free. Talk to Nadia up front. What I do is you touch it. There's conductivity, 2 metal plates here. You just touch it and see the little light turns on right there. I wear it on me. I do it about 4 times a day, 5. I just do it as often as I think of it. It lasts you do this for about 10 minutes and it lasts 3-4 hours. It emits a frequency that neutralizes bad EMFs, so you're not getting hit and bombarded and getting your boys fried all day. This here, but if you don't have boys, your eggs, you don't want to get your eggs fried. Your girls, you're not getting your girls toasted. This right here is an R2L, radiation to light. What this is made by the company that does the lasers. If you know anything about Royal Rife, you know anything about, he was a sound engineer who created this technology, sound waves, to take down bacteria, virus, fungus, parasite. He could literally do anything. They raided his stuff. They pretty much destroyed him. We'll talk about that with the pharmakia thing. We're going to talk about Royal Rife, I think, if we have time. You all need to know who Royal Rife is. But the company that does my lasers, which I have 2 of here in the office, they also do the foot spas. They know a little bit about frequency and wavelength, and they created these things called radiation to light. Urconia is the name of the company. So what Royal Rife did with sound waves, Urconia is doing with light waves. And remember, the sound and light, what I showed you on that electromagnetic spectrum, all the frequency, all the wavelengths, they're doing Rife technology. They're basically doing what he did with sound waves, they're doing with light waves, which is why I use lasers so predominantly in this office. I know stuff about lasers that is very cool. So this right here is made by the same company. So these guys know something about frequency and wavelength. They also know how to mitigate. This will take down 70% of your exposure on your phone. Where do you put it? It says on the website, but it's interesting because you just lay this on your phone and you move it around on the back of it, and wherever the little light turns on, that's where your receiver is. Or battery. That's where your battery is. I may have misspoke on that. But it's interesting because you know it's working. You can see a little red light turn on. So it takes the radiation and turns it into light so you can see it actually working. Buy 3, get 1 free, or when you do one of these guys, get one of these and get one. It's a special that we ran at the last class too, and people really stocked up on them. And these are wonderful stocking stuffers. They fit right into birthday cards. I mail them to my folks. Hey, yo, put this on your phone. So you buy one of these, you get one of these free, or you buy 3, get 1 free. I just wanted to tell you that. So when I'm saying increase distance or favor hardwired or use dumb phone more smartly, use a neutralizer or a blocker, that's what I'm talking about. Use airplane mode at night. That way your phone is not constantly emitting Bluetooth or cellular. Rest well. Unplug clocks. Some people get crazy. They turn off their fuses, their breakers, everything. Because some people are so hypersensitive, they react to the wiring in the walls. We're living in big metal cages. You sleep on a bed spring, a box spring, you're sleeping on a conductive electric metal mattress that is exactly the same length as your body. Horrible, horrible, horrible idea. I've slept on a futon I have for the last 12 years on the floor. I do not sleep on a box spring. I can't say that's right for everybody. That's just what I do. I didn't know about the box spring thing until I started reading this. And I went, oh, maybe that's why I never felt right having a box spring. I don't know. Unplug your clocks, breakers, use an EMF blanket. Look above, below, and around where you sleep. Wherever your head is, what's on the other side of that wall? Is it your neighbor's router? I tell the story. One time I pulled into my driveway and I looked up. I live in a townhouse, it's like 3 units. Pulled into my driveway and up right where my head was, it hit me like a brick in the face. There was like 7 antennas, 7 satellite dishes, 6 or 7 satellite dishes, feet away from where my head was. And it just hit me. I thought, that probably can't be good. And I moved my bed like the next day because I thought, this is just not good. Look around where you are, where you sleep, where you spend your time, and see what's on the other side of that wall. What's above you? Is it a neighbor's, is the router right there? I mean, some of this stuff can be caused by stuff on the other side of the wall. Some of this stuff can be really messing you up. All those symptoms that we had of radiation poisoning, think about those and just investigate it. That right there is a nugget that might change your life right there. I'll never forget the first person that walked in here with electro hypersensitivity. She was wearing a helmet. She had amalgam fillings. She had all this stuff that was going on. We rocked her world within weeks. Wonderful reviews. Because all we did was detox her and get metals out of her body that had been there for decades. Well, that's not all we did, but that was a big part of it. Because that was reacting to all of the EMFs. And this is before I knew any of this about the 5G stuff. This was years ago. So I didn't even know what I was doing. I just thought, Electrohypersensitivity, okay, well, if you're allergic to radio waves, what reacts with radio waves? Metals. Let's get the metals out of her body. Let's do nutrition, let's do detox, let's do sauna, let's change her life. She took the helmet off. Look above below. Oh, shield your home, that's a whole nother thing. I'm still looking into, there's ways to shield your home. Faraday cages, you got a kid with autism, you put a Faraday cage over his bed, you put like special cloth over their bed. I mean, they can really react to some of the stuff. Use radioprotective clothing and a sleep sanctuary. Avoid all sources of metals. Metals act as antennas for EMFs. What's in the shots? What's in the water? Fluoridation. What's in the genetically modified foods? What's in the processed foods? Right? What's in the air? What are they spraying? What's the smart dust? Think about it. Inhaled aluminum from geoengineering is a major, major enemy. So some of these personal solutions you've just got to know to avoid some things, right? Yeah, do not use amalgams, titanium, gold crowns, root canals, things like that. Titanium implants are perfect receivers for 5G. Nobody's perfect. I got one right here. I didn't know. What are you going to do? Wake up out of surgery and go, no. No, I didn't know. Titanium implants for like broken bones, T's and screws. Yeah, titanium, or bridges and stuff like that have titanium implants a lot of times. Drilled down into the bone. Yep. Your only hope is avoidance. There's no elimination. Your only hope is avoidance and limiting exposure from some of the stuff. It's in the air, folks. It's in the satellites. You ain't getting away from it. Okay? Divine Design Solutions, what do? This is huge. Detoxify your pineal gland. There's 4 things that screw up your pineal gland. We're almost done. Whew, how did we do this? Hallelujah. Detoxify your pineal gland. There are 4 things that screw with your pineal gland. Fluoride, where's it found? Water. Tap water. What's the next one? Aluminum, where's it found? Everywhere. Your aluminum cans, your aluminum cookware. It's in the shots. It's in your deodorant. Or I shouldn't say deodorant. It's in your antiperspirant. It's in some of your foods. It's in the shots. Yeah. And from the geoengineering, the stuff they're spraying on you. If you do not know this stuff, that's why all the detox stuff we do works so well. You have to speed up the process of this because you've gone 50, 60 years living in air conditioning and not sweating. So we're turning up the process, turning up the ability of your body to process all this stuff the only way that it can, which is by itself. You can't do anything but speed up the body's process a little bit and help it along a little bit. You got a lot of lost time to make up on. If people are coming here with 5 organs missing and 15 medications, and they've got, they're overweight and they're sick and they don't know any other way, you got a lot of waking up to do. So we got to speed up the process. That's what this does. Aluminum. So fluoride, things that screw up your pineal gland. What's your pineal gland used for? What is the biggest thing in your pineal gland? Spiritual awareness. Well, some it's your third eye, some people call, right? You look into this. I mean, seriously, did they know this? They had to. Fluoride, so we talked about that. 4 things that screw up your pineal. Fluoride, aluminum. I just told you where all the aluminum comes from, right? The glyphosate, where's that come from? Roundup. How did they know the glyphosate screws up your pineal gland? So why did we make Roundup out of the specific substance that is in Roundup that poisons the weeds but not the food? We spray it on the food and then we eat the food. Perfect. Genius. No human thought of that. 4 things: fluoride, aluminum, glyphosate, and EMFs. The 4 things that screw up your pineal gland, boom, 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 boom. You're coded, you're medicated, vaccinated, indoctrinated, fluoridated. It's ridiculous. It's right there. Detoxify it and protect it from EMF. So once you get the bad stuff out, then you got to protect your body. Then you got to eat the right stuff and once you get the bad stuff out, that's half the battle. Then you got to rebuild, right? And then you got to build the fortress. You got to build the defenses. Next. So we use ionic detox. One of these PhD guys, I told this story months ago, and I was so blown away. One of these PhD guys who studied molecular biology for years and years and years, and he's figured out all this 5G stuff. He is one of the most prominent people in this field. And he said, he's a German guy, and he says, and one guy was asking him, well, hey, what things have you found that mitigate some of the effects? He says, well, we have discovered that there's this device called an ionic detoxification foot bath that can detoxify 600 to 900% reduction in heavy metals studied by urinalysis. And I about ran my car into a pylon on the highway. I'm like, yes, this is great. So the ionic detox, do you want to get the metals out of your brain and out of your gut? 600 to 900%, is that faster than your body can do it normally? You bet. Infrared sauna therapy, we just talked about sweating. If you haven't sweated since the 60s and you've got central air, guess what? PEMF therapy, that was what I was going to so heavily go into this, but the PEMF therapy, just look on our website, read the stuff. We've got books and stuff here that you can read. We've got a handout. Actually, you know what? The best thing? Ha! Hallelujah. Nadia has a handout at the front that I wrote all about the PEMF therapy. So you can read that and understand in 2 pages all of the stuff that I would have wasted all your time with tonight. You're welcome. Nutritional detoxification, dietary and lifestyle modification. Change the bad crap you're eating, put good stuff in. That's all. It's simple. It's easy. Well, I don't know. Organic stuff's expensive. No, a cancer diagnosis is expensive. Well, I don't know. I like my Chick-fil-A. Okay. Keep liking it. But I'm telling you, you want to live a life, you want to be ready for the second wave, man. You better listen. I'm telling you. Essential oils, to protect your DNA, essential oils can actually help rewrite some of your DNA. Essential oils protect your DNA, and they get your cells to release toxins out faster. We also use a lot of those. So we've got a lot of tools, a lot of solutions. We educate you on these toxins and how to avoid them. Metal detoxification is an absolute must to survive the upcoming times. We use EMF neutralizers and R2L radiation blockers for tablets, phones, computers. There's not a device in this place that's not, I got a radio on right now, has 2 of them. Because we do in-ear all throughout the office, all day, every day. We've got 2 blockers on each, just in case, because I care about the girls. Right, Andrea? Yes, thumbs up. Using natural health solutions, prepare for the second wave. It will be, So saying, using natural health solutions. If you're sick and then we put another poison in you, what's going to happen? More than likely. William Osler was a famous British physician who said this. He said, he who takes a medication has to heal twice. Once from the sickness, once from the medication.
That's right.
It was in the late 1800s before Big Pharma took over, and he knew it. Okay, so using natural health solutions, prepare for the second wave. It will be real next time. Something happened, some divine intervention happened where it was not what they expected. They projected, the computer models, everything said millions. Something happened. God, you know what I think happened? God stepped in. Or Trump pulled something that they never expected and he shut down the borders right in the nick of time. Something happened. But what they expected and what they wanted did not happen. So this next wave, bet your bottom dollar. Put on your big girl panties. Let's get ready for a ride because it's going to be real. We do and have done telehealth since long before CV-19. We're ready to help anyone anywhere. See testimonials. Telehealth, your telemedicine. Well, little Johnny's sick at school. The nurse pulls up the iPad, dials into the doctor. Little Johnny has a tonsil problem. It's all swollen. Okay, here's some amoxicillin. The doctor writes the script. The nurse hands it. Mom and dad don't have to come pick up little Johnny. It's already been in the works for a long time. Telemedicine has been there. I took one look at it and said, we can beat the crap out of that. I'll do telenutrition. I'll do telehealth. Before this whole CV thing hit, I said, we can do the same thing. And we'll do it, testing your body the same way. We'll not only just using protocols and not only just using our knowledge of what's going on with you, all of the paperwork you fill out. We are like Scotland Yard. We leave no stone unturned. You fill out all this paperwork. Who's been a patient? Say amen to that.
Amen.
Yeah, you do a lot of paperwork. Then we look at all this stuff. We cross-reference it with what we know about the symptoms. We cross-reference it with what we know about the products that we're going to use. Out of 15 to 20 vendors, thousands of products, which ones are going to work for you? We test you and figure out how to do it. How do we do it? That's the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce. There's a way to do it because energy knows no distance and no time. Energy is energy. So we can do this telehealth thing more effectively, more safely, and in a better, we will laser focus and guided missile get your stuff that you need, all of your aunts, uncles, cousins, friends far off who don't live here in Cleveland. We will laser guide this down to the capsule and the tablet for exactly their body and what they need. Make it faster and more efficient than any drug, make it faster and more efficient than any functional medicine guy just dropping protocols on them. Does that make sense? So anybody here who knows somebody who is outside of this area, no problem. Get them on telehealth. We'll do the nutrition. We'll do the nutrition coaching. We'll do the nutrition response testing over the phone. And guess what? If they happen to be on Highway 75, stop by once a month and get the rest of the in-house stuff that you can't do over the phone. We've had that happen. Stop by once every 2 months. Boom, we got different packages. Just tell us how often you can stop by. If you can't, fine. We'll just do the telehealth. You got moms, dads living in a nursing home getting drugged to death? Give me a chance at them. You got somebody in an ambulance? drop their body off here, pick it up down here 10 minutes later. Give me 5-10 minutes. That's what I'm picturing in the future, right? Okay, I think that's about it. Yeah, so the specials, we covered that. Also other specials, standard process, purification. How many in this room have done it? 1, 2, raise hands. Oh, you haven't yet, you're on your way, you're on your way. Okay, yeah. About 5 people, 6 people, yeah. So everybody, the standard process thing, all this, perfect time to do a different, a diet. Perfect time to change your diet. Perfect time to get more tuned in to what you're eating. Perfect time right now while everything's closed down, while you're at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're doing, 20% off for patients. Yeah, you're cooking at home, so 20% off for patients and family members. That's something we're offering too. Buy 4, get 1 on the saunas and the foot spas. Remember what we talked about here and here? Buy 4, get 1, not just for you guys. We've opened this up to, with this whole CV nonsense thing going on, to people off the street and friends and family of you guys. That's the only things that you can do without being an official patient without an exam. Everything else requires an exam and like getting on board with the nutrition. And telehealth for friends and family. And for the telehealth for friends and family, we've got limited spots of that going on. And that's new patient exams are half off of normal. So if you know people who you want to get here, if you've been patients here for years, or you've been patients here for 6 weeks or something, or you've been patients and you've been telling everybody you know about us, this is now a good time to get somebody, hey, you got a friend or family member struggling with medical care and they're at home rotting, getting drugs sent to them from Amazon Pill Pack, give me a shot at them. Bring them. Amazon Pill Pack, yep. So that's it. Any questions before we sign off? Do we have anything on Facebook? Questions, comments, cries of outrage? Anything? Okay, fine. Any questions here? I know we went a little bit later, but did you guys get your money's worth? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you. I've never actually gotten, I've done 100 of these, probably 80 or 100 of these, and that's the first, hallelujah. Good job. First round of applause I've ever gotten. Andrea steps in here and just gets applause all the time.
Oh, she's cute.
She's prettier than me?
She a little bit.
Unbelievable. I don't believe it. Who says? No, but any questions, comments, concerns on anybody? We're going to sign off. I've kept these guys here way too long. I'm going to have to give them tips. Okay, anything else? We got more stuff? You good? Oh yeah, we got to give some free stuff away. Anything else? Good? Go back, watch the old stuff, check out the new stuff. We'll see you guys 2 weeks, May 4th. May 4th.
That's next week.
That's May the 4th be with you. It's May 4th. It's like Star Wars Day. Oh, and we got to do, we'll sign off, and then we're going to sign back on for a live deal for DD to spin. Is it DD? Yes. All right, thank you guys. So Dr. Brett Spradlin here, Divine Design Natural Health. Look at those solutions. There's a bunch of them. Yeah, the problems are here. They're always going to be here. Tribulations, you're always going to go through that. The Great Tribulation is something coming farther down the road, hopefully, amen. However, there are solutions to all these things. You just got to get your defenses up, get your walls up, and we can do that here. So everybody, thank you so much, Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design Natural Health. Like this, share it, send it. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Free stuff.